Craving the coffee flavor you love, but without the caffeine? Kachava's got you covered with their newest coffee flavor. This all-in-one nutrition shake delivers bold, authentic flavor crafted from premium decaffeinated Brazilian beans. Quality nutrition shouldn't be complicated. Just 2 scoops of Kachava's all-in-one nutrition shake, and you've got 25 grams of protein, 6 grams of fiber, greens, and so much more. Whether you're craving that coffee taste to kickstart your morning ritual, or as a nutrient-packed reward to round out your afternoon, Kachava keeps you fueled and satisfied wherever your day takes you. Plus, it actually tastes delicious. No fillers, no nonsense. Just the good stuff your body craves. And for the times you feel like switching it up, you've got 7 flavors to choose from, all with the highest quality ingredients. Treat yourself to the flavor and nutrition your body craves. Go to kachava.com and use code NEWS. New customers get 15% off their first order. That's KACHAVA.com, code NEWS.
Money for tradespeople and amateur athletes. Higher spending, a lower deficit. Reaction to the spring economic update is coming up on Now You Know. I'm Rob Snow.
Navigating the issues that matter to you. It's Now You Know with Rob Snow on News Radio.
Lots of big numbers and lots of reaction to the Carney government's spring economic update. Presenting the latest snapshot of the federal government's finances, the Minister of Finance, Francois-Philippe Champagne, portrayed the Liberals as prudent stewards of the taxpayers' money in a time of global turmoil.
Guided by our commitment to spend less so we can invest more, and building on the comprehensive expenditure review, our government continued to reduce spendings, improve efficiency, and deliver better value for Canadians. As a result, Mr. Speaker, projected deficits are lower over the fiscal horizon.
Great job.
Lower, but still big by any historical measure. Last fall, the government said the budget deficit was on track to exceed $78 billion. It is lower than that, but is still clocking in at close to $67 billion. Total government spending is not going down. It's going up by $27 billion. The forecast in the economic update says the national debt is on track to hit $1.5 trillion over the next few years, and interest payments on that debt will eventually reach $80 billion a year. But nothing to worry about, according to the Minister of Finance.
Structural decisions that have made Canada the second fastest growing economy in the G7. And just put that in perspective for the viewers, it's not that Canada's just growing a bit more. We're growing twice as much as Germany, twice as much as Japan, thereabout, 3 times more than Italy. So when you put things in perspective, you say in the fog of uncertainty, to use the word of the International Monetary Fund, Canada has a clear path forward, project of national interest. You see foreign direct investment at record level in this country. And the other thing is that it's also an expense play in the sense that we've been very fiscally prudent, good fiscal manager, but you have to remember that $60 billion, the comprehensive expenditure review, is at par with what Prime Minister Harper or Prime Minister Chrétien did at the time. This is very significant.
For the Conservatives, there is nothing bold or ambitious in this economic update and no signs of restraint. For them, it's just more of the same old big Liberal spending. This was Pierre Poilievre.
Today's Liberal fiscal updates brings more costs, more debt, and more bills on the national credit card. This Prime Minister is just another Liberal. Here are the facts. Here are the facts. He doubled the deficit from $31 billion to $65 billion. Prime Minister broke his promise that he would reduce the debt-to-GDP ratio over the fiscal horizon. Today, he reported the debt-to-GDP ratio will go up, not only over the fiscal horizon, but in every single year that this government serves. He broke his promise to spend less, with spending year over year going up 4.9%, which is far more than the combined inflation and economic growth, and about twice inflation plus population growth.
Among the highlights in this mini budget, more money for amateur sport. It's a $750 million funding envelope, which the government says is the largest investment in amateur sport in the last 20 years. Most of that money will go to national sports organizations like the Canadian Olympic Committee. Another high-profile announcement is more money to train Canadians for jobs in the skilled trades. It's a $6 billion plan to train up to 100,000 new workers in the trades by the year 2031. Well, that's welcome news. It's not nearly enough for working people, according to the new leader of the NDP, Avi Lewis, who wanted to see a windfall tax on oil and gas companies.
The Liberal government had a big opportunity today to actually address the everyday emergency of the crisis of the cost of living for Canadians with concrete measures, new programs that would actually make people's everyday lives better. It didn't do that. And not only that, there wasn't a single new revenue measure in this entire update that would actually introduce new revenue from extremely profitable corporations like the oil and gas sector, which is forecast to make $90 billion of excess wartime profits this year alone. We should have seen a windfall tax, and we called for one. And so there was a lot of revenue left on the table. The measures that the government has introduced, the grocery and essentials benefit is one that we support. We think it should be more, but it is something that we support. On the other hand, the gas tax holiday or the gas tax reduction, the so-called middle class tax cut, these are extremely expensive measures that cost billions and billions and billions of dollars every single year, and they do not fundamentally change the equation for Canadians who are struggling to put food on the table for their kids.
The leader of the Bloc Québécois, François Blanchet, isn't giving this Liberal government any credit for being good fiscal managers. He said the government is merely benefiting from higher oil prices. He wanted to see more help in this economic update for businesses that are still being hit by tariffs from the Trump administration.
So this idea that 85% of exports from Canada to the United States are not touched by tariffs because they are covered by NAFTA is no more true, even if they still repeat it. And this situation, which is, I must say the right word, it's dramatic for many, many businesses, is not addressed at all. Last week, the Prime Minister promised me in the question period that there would be measures to adapt present and acting businesses, not future projects, to the situation, and the update contains absolutely not a word about that.
So it's a show.
It's much of a show. It's a lot of paper for not much to tell.
As for the Sovereign Wealth Fund that was announced by Prime Minister Carney earlier in the week, there were few details about that program other than that the government will create the Canada Strong Fund Transition Office sometime in the near future. I'm Rob Snow. This is Now You Know. This is News Radio.
There is no question Rob won't get answered.
Now You Know with Rob Snow continues
on News Radio.
There's no shortage of economic news today. There's the Bank of Canada decision, which was really no decision at all. And then there's the federal government spring economic update to review with Pedro Antunes, who is the chief economist at Signal 49 Research. Used to be with the Conference Board of Canada. How are you? Welcome back.
I'm good, Rob. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, very good. So no big surprises from the Bank of Canada. It is holding the line on interest rates, no move up or down. What is the bank watching?
Well, to be honest, I think the bank is, obviously they're watching the economy. I think they're very concerned about geopolitics and the world events and how that is affecting not only the economy, but of course, inflation. And I think they're concerned because they're reliving, in a sense, what happened back in 2022. Another commodity price shock drove inflation up. The difference this time, though, is the economy is already quite weak. So it's not something that's easy for the Bank of Canada to deal with because, if you're trying to fight inflation, which is what you're getting from this commodity price shock, you do it with the only tool you have if you're a central banker, that's to raise rates. and that's going to hurt the economy even more. So they're looking at a forecast for Canada with growth very tepid this year, and even into next year, they've got a fairly weak outlook.
So much of today is going to be spent kind of parsing through the statement from the Bank of Canada, with people looking for signals about what the next move might be from the Bank of Canada. Might it be a move up with interest rates or down with interest rates? Will it be on hold? If it's on hold, for how long? What do you get from the statement released by the central bank today? What do you think is next?
Yeah, I think, I think they're dealing with the challenges of so much uncertainty, especially with respect to oil prices and when oil prices will, when the situation in the Strait will get resolved and the oil prices maybe come down to more normal levels. Right now, I was just looking at oil prices today. They're up close to $100 a barrel, the WTI. The assumptions for most of the forecasts here are that this gets resolved and comes down. So the bank, I don't think, will move for now. They'll wait to see how this gets resolved. But if it doesn't get resolved and we see this energy shock taking a hold, in other words, we know that March inflation was already high. We know that April inflation, even in the bank's statement, they're suggesting that's going to be ticking up to around 3%. That's possibly, I think, in the range of what most forecasts are looking at. But what happens from there on is, if this energy price stays elevated, we're going to see that transpiring through not just gasoline prices, but more broadly through all sorts of goods, transportation costs, and inputs into manufacturing. So again, I think they're just going to stand pat until they see some resolution to this. If not, the next move may in fact be one up, where they have to tick interest rates up to ease inflationary pressures.
Okay. Many economists think the bank won't raise interest rates at all this year. What do you think?
Well, that's certainly what we have in our forecast. And again, that goes to the fact that we are expecting that this oil price shock will end. So if your forecast has that assumption in it, President Trump promised a 4 to 6 week duration of this war. He states the war is over, but the problem isn't resolved. This problem with the Strait. So it'll depend on that. I think the bank, it's unfortunate because it's not just, here we had already seen interest rates coming off, so there's some pressure eased up for consumers in Canada. But we were really in a situation prior to the war, the war with Iran. We were in a situation where we were hopeful to see interest rates throughout the rest of the world. Most developed economies had not yet lowered interest rates, and interest rates in the States. By the way, that announcement is coming later today. We were hopeful to see those announcements with rates coming down, and I think now, globally, we're not going to see that happen.
I mean, in the statement today, Pedro Antunes, it said, so far there, I'm quoting here, so far there is little evidence that oil prices have fed through more broadly to goods and services prices. I'm watching oil trade, WTI, at $106 right now, and Brent at $117. So when the central bank says there's little evidence oil prices have fed through more broadly to goods and services, surely to goodness it's not counting on that to be the case going forward with these prices.
Well, I think they're trying to set the stage, and I think when we look at the central bank, what can they control? They really can't control energy prices. They can't control global commodity prices. They can't control the cost and price of goods that are coming into this country. What they are really focused on is inflation expectations, because that sets wages, and that will set essentially the price of domestic goods, mostly services, through services in this country. That's what they really can control. So I think they're trying to essentially alleviate perhaps concerns around how inflation is going to take hold in Canada, trying to set inflation expectations down so that we don't see a big ramp up in wage pressures. But, I think, they're going to be challenged here because we are going to see very strong inflation in the April numbers. Households are very aware of what's going on when they go to the pump and tank up and how much that is costing. And I do think it's inevitable that we are going to see this pass through not just transportation costs, but essentially, as I mentioned, inputs of all sorts of goods and services. By the way, including natural gas, and fertilizer costs and aluminum costs. I mean, it's not just oil that is getting stranded with this situation in the Gulf.
When we come back, Pedro Antunes is with us. I want to ask you about the spring, pardon me, old habits. The spring economic statement, it's called these days. Just your thoughts on maybe some of the highlights of what you saw yesterday from the federal government, fiscal policy. This is News Radio.
You have questions.
Now You Know with Rob Snow has the answers.
On News Radio.
Pedro Antunes is with us, Chief Economist, Signal 49 Research. What's your big takeaway from the spring economic update?
Well, I think the big news is that despite the fact, as we just talked about, the economy being weak, the government, the federal government, has actually benefited from slightly better than expected revenues, essentially. And so they're looking at a 5-year planning horizon, a 6-year planning horizon, where in fact the situation on the revenue side had improved over what we had in the budget. So in a way, that was good news for the government, again, despite this weak economy. And that was over a 5-year period to the tune of about $60 billion. And much like we've seen the Liberal governments in the past, and certainly in the past number of years, much of that new fiscal room, was taken up in new spending. And most of that new spending was in affordability measures. So households should be, thankful for that, because there is a lot of pressure on households. So I don't think they were necessarily, how should I say, they were just measures in that sense. We saw essentially relief on groceries. We saw prior to the economic update that excise tax reduction, excise on gasoline, about 10 cents a liter. There was other affordability measures as well. And most importantly, I think there was also a focus on red seals and skilled trades to try and build up essentially that workforce for what we will need in what is a budget focused on building our economy with infrastructure and resource projects.
We only have about a minute left. These higher oil prices for the government are a blessing, right? They may be a curse for everyone else who needs to fill up, but they're a blessing for the government, yes?
Yeah, that's an important part of that revenue increase. And in the budget, in the economic update, there's $73 oil average for this year, and I feel like it might be a lot higher than that. Now, this really benefits the provinces that are oil producers through royalties, but it will also benefit the federal government through higher profits for those oil producers.
Thank you so much for the time today, Pedro. Great to hear from you again.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's nice to be on. Thanks again.
Thank you. Yeah, that's Pedro Antunes, Chief Economist, Signal 49 Research, used to be the Chief Economist at the Conference Board of Canada. Political analysis of the spring economic update is coming up next on our Wednesday Newsday panel. I'm Rob Snow. This is Now You Know on News Radio.
No question goes unasked or unanswered.
Now You Know with Rob Snow returns on News Radio.
It's time for our Wednesday Newsday panel. Neil Brodie's back with us, co-founder, president of Vox Strategies. Hi, Neil. Welcome back.
Good day, Rob. How you doing?
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Jordan Paquet is vice president of Bluesky Strategy Group. Jordan Paquet, long time no talk. Welcome back.
Thanks so much, Rob. How are you?
Very good. Well, the spring economic update is going to take up a lot of our time. Big day in Ottawa yesterday. Wide open question to begin. Jordan, what's your reaction to the spring economic update?
Well, it's an update on spending for sure. I mean, this is an expensive one. It's you think somebody coming in branded as an economist would try and start to get deficits under control, but it's going to double what it was going to be projected to be under the Trudeau years. Obviously, there's lots of different measures in there. I think that people can grab onto and maybe find some agreement with, including the skilled worker training and items like that. But at the same time, those workers are going to need jobs to go to. So a lot of these announcements might look great on paper, whether it's this economic update or any of the Prime Minister's previous speeches. But we got to get these shovels in the ground and these projects going, energy projects and mining projects and all those things, because that's actually what's going to make a difference in boosting the economy and getting people back working again.
Okay. What's your out-of-the-gate reaction to the spring economic update, Neil?
Well, Rob, I know a lot of your listeners are probably not huge fans of Andrew Coyne, who writes for The Globe and is on a weekly CBC panel. However, his commentary on this fiscal update hits the nail on the head. There's no headline from Mark Carney's election promises, from his first budget last fall, from this fiscal update, that addresses in any meaningful way lagging economic growth in Canada. This fiscal update trumpets, I think it's 1.5% economic growth for this year as some sort of high tide mark. And some national economists predict about the same growth next year. But, understand that this is half of the economic growth, half of what it was kind of from 2000 to 2015, and a third of what it was from 1980 to 2000. This is a crisis that the Liberal government either doesn't seem to care about or has no desire to solve. And further to Jordan's point, the headlines talked about some sort of windfall tax grab by the federal government on higher oil prices. And that whatever that dollar figure was just went straight out the door again, as opposed to helping to improve the finances of this country by paying down the massive amount of debt that the country owes.
Yeah, in Mr. Coyne's column in the Globe and Mail today, he notes that, let's say the government is bringing in an extra $100 because of the higher oil prices. It's spending $98 of that and saving $2 of it.
It's absolutely ridiculous. The projection of the debt servicing charge. If you have a line of credit, that minimum payment you have to pay every month. For Canada, that's $50-something billion every year. $50 billion. That's a lotto, super lotto max jackpot times 1,000. And it goes up by 10% every year. 50 billion, 55 billion, 62 billion, 70 billion, like 10% every year growth with 1% economic growth. I don't know how we solve that.
Okay. So not big fans out of the gate here. Neil, tell me something. Okay, I'm not surprised to hear that from the two of you, but Neil, come on, Neil. Tell me something you like about it. There must be something in there that you like.
Listen, I don't know if we'll get into this in more depth later on in the discussion, but some money set aside for training is always good. The Liberals like to trumpet that we have one of the best workforces in the entire world, which is probably true. I don't know, but this spending, I forget what it was, like $6 or $10 billion set aside for training is. Yeah. I mean, that's great. For years, Canadian teenagers have been told to go to university and get a good job. I was told that as a teenager in the 80s, and that's what I did. I'm relatively comfortable, but boy, sometimes I think maybe I should have become an electrician. Electricians are never out of work, and judging by the invoices I've received over my life, they do okay. So the training money, I think, the training money is good for. Yeah.
All right. So, it's a $6 billion program. There was a time if there was a $6 billion program in a budget or a mini budget, I mean, that was it. Like, that was the big spending shiny object in the budget. It's 1% of the spending in this document today. But tell me something you like about it. What's in there to like, Jordan?
Yeah, and I alluded to this in the intro too, and I'll agree with Neil. I mean, some of this training stuff is good. I think it's a positive step. But that's hedged on a big if. I would wonder why we would spend all this money if we're not also going to take those same steps to unleash energy resources, unlock some of the projects that have kept oil and gas in the ground, and really make Canada an energy superpower. That's something that people have been talking about for a long time. So if it follows with some of those steps, then this training program is great. But I also think the private sector would very much be stepping up to train some of their own people too. So yeah, I think it's great that we're trying to get ahead of this a little bit. But there's a whole bunch of other measures that this government's going to need to take in quite short order to actually start getting some of these projects in the ground. It's great to just throw out just different buzzwords and whatnot, and this government's very good at doing that. But actually getting people into work, into these careers, that's what's going to be the measure of this.
All right, just getting started with our analysis from a political point of view of the spring economic update. I'm Rob Snow. This is Now You Know. This is News Radio.
Critical thinking is not dead.
Now You Know with Rob Snow
Returns on News Radio.
It's our Wednesday Newsday panel. Neil Brodie is co-founder, president, Vox Strategies. Jordan Paquet is vice president, Bluesky Strategy Group. We've been talking about the spring economic update. As you look at some of the highlights here, Neil, do you see anything, because the Liberals have been known to shoplift conservative ideas before, do you see anything in there that is kind of stolen from the Conservatives?
Well, a fiscal update is always a good reason to re-announce things that a government has already done. So there are some things that have already been announced by Mr. Carney, or that are supposed priorities from Mark Carney, that I believe have come from the Conservatives. The Liberals already took the idea to kill the carbon tax last year and reduce the fuel tax earlier this week or early last week. Liberals are promising to cut red tape on home construction. Haven't seen that yet. One project, one review. That's a Conservative thing. I haven't seen that yet. Liberals are promising to crack down on crime. Haven't seen anything there yet. And Conservatives would like to see the spending go down to improve the country's finances. But as Jordan said, spending is up and away.
Jordan, what do you think, Jordan? Anything in there that's stolen from the Conservatives? I mean, this Red Seal thing is kind of lifted from the Conservatives. That was a Conservative idea, in my opinion.
Certainly, I think the Conservatives have spent. Yeah, I think the Conservatives have spent a lot of time. You're right, over the last few years, Rob, on tradespeople, on blue collar workers, and so certainly I think that's an idea that was probably inspired in part by things they were putting out. And I agree with the points Neil was mentioning as well. I think it's what they've kind of stolen previously, to try and blunt some of the more aggressive criticism that was coming their way on things like the carbon tax. And absolutely, the one project, one review initiative. We'll see if that comes to fruition. Now that the Prime Minister has a majority, there's going to be some grumpy people in his environmental flank that I think will raise some more concerns about those items.
Okay, just building on this $6 billion program for the trades. I'm going to be talking about this on Talkback. I find it really interesting. Part of the announcement is $225 million investment into training centers across the country, but it's in partnership not with the community colleges, but rather with the trade unions. It makes me wonder if there's some kind of political motivation at work here. We saw, for example, the Conservatives make inroads with the building trades in the last election, and certainly, I mean, that's been the secret sauce for Doug Ford in consecutive elections in Ontario. And I think the Liberals would like to get a slice of that political pie. What do you think, Neil?
Sure. The Conservatives have used the quote-unquote skilled trades, also called sometimes the private sector unions, to boost their support to the detriment of the Liberal left and the NDP. It was a great play. There might be a whether this is accurate or not. There might be an idea out there that skilled tradespeople are on the sharp, pointy end of the affordability, cost of living crisis that's going through Canada. So it was a natural constituent for Mr. Poilievre to pursue. I remember back in the 2006, I think, election when Buzz Hargrove, one of the private sector union heads, put a CAW jacket on Paul Martin during an election campaign.
Yes.
And, those were the good heady days of Liberals and skilled trades being partners. But the Liberal Party under Mr. Trudeau and Mr. Carney is drifting towards pleasing downtown city elites in Canada. And so that voting bloc is, the skilled trades, whatever you want to call it, voting bloc is looking for a place to land. And Mr. Poilievre went out and courted them and got them.
What do you think, Jordan?
Yeah, those I agree with everything Neil was saying on this. It's important to know and to note that these private sector unions need jobs to go to. So it's great they exist. It's great that they have these training programs and boosting that. That's great. It's all great to get ready for it. But where it's going to actually matter is if they're going to have projects, if they're going to have cars to build, if they're going to have pipelines to build, if there's big electrical infrastructure projects. That's really what's going to matter because it's, even just being part of the union, having a training program, you still need a job at the end of the day, and you still need a job to be able to pay rent, afford a home, and I think that's the language that the Conservatives are talking to. I don't know if a ton of blue collar workers are sitting around looking at what's going on in Ottawa with a fiscal statement, but they'll really be looking at what the job market's like in the next few months, and if it's not there, they're going to start asking some tough questions of government.
Okay, when we come back, we'll pivot away from the spring economic update and talk a little bit about the announcement earlier in the week about the Canada Strong Fund, this sovereign wealth fund. Get your thoughts on that when we return. This is News Radio.
Now you know with Rob Snow continues on News Radio.
Here with Neil Brodie and Jordan Paquet, our Wednesday Newsday political panel. Neil, what do you think of this idea of a sovereign wealth fund? The Prime Minister announced that earlier in the week. What do you think of that idea?
Well, my initial reaction was we already have a sovereign wealth fund. It's called the Canadian Pension Plan Investment Board. Canadians pay billions of dollars every year into it. The board invests the money, and eventually, Canadians get to withdraw money from the account when they retire. Then my next thought was, has Canada become so toxic an investment destination that no one but the Canadian government will invest in it? There was a report a few weeks ago, RBC, I think, that in the past decade, global investors have taken over $1 trillion of investment. They've taken that's left Canada. So has the Canadian government become the capital supplier of last resort in Canada? And then yesterday, I expected some further explanation from Mr. Carney as to why this is needed. I heard something about, recycled assets, selling airports, blah, 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 blah. This just sounds like a $25 billion private equity fund to be managed by Mr. Carney with no actual benefit to Canada, just a toy for him to play with.
Okay, so not a fan. Jordan, what about you?
How'd you guess?
Look, look, I agree with Neil that it's odd that we have an investment environment now where it seems that just the government wants to invest into it. I mean, other countries around the world, they tend to use budget surpluses to invest into their funds, and now here we are borrowing on Canadians' credit card or Canada's credit card to put money into it. I also question in the future if this couldn't become some type of boondoggle for this Liberal government. Anytime they've tried to create some of these big programs in the past, it's tried and true Liberal Party seems to get tripped up in some massive scandal. So I would expect there'll be a lot of ethics questions about this going forward, especially, and I'm not saying anything's going wrong now, just to be absolutely clear, but they're certainly exposing themselves here to some potentially big scandals down the road in the future if this isn't managed very, very properly with lots of checks and balances.
Neil mentioned the CPPIB. I mean, that's hardly the only pool of capital that's out there, right? They have the infrastructure bank, and you just jot them down on a piece of paper like I just did. Indigenous infrastructure bank, Indigenous loan program. There's, I don't know what it's called these days, green energy program, Clean Energy Investment Fund, or whatever it's called. But then you have all of these regional development agencies, like in our part of the country, Jordan, ACOA, right? ACOA, Atlantic Canada Opportunities Agency. Neil's the Toronto guy. They have the same one in same kind of thing in Southern Ontario, right? Neil, Southern Ontario
Development Agency. Yep.
Right. Yeah, and there's probably one for the West, and there's probably one for British Columbia, and now we're going to have this. Where does it end?
And I remember in the private sector, Mark Carney was trying to push something called GFANS, the Glasgow Financial Alliance something, to force banks to invest only in green funds. So is this and that died when it went through some antitrust problems in the United States. I can't remember exactly what it was, but essentially that GFANS thing is dead now. So is this just Mark Carney trying to do something through the back door that the front door didn't really want to let in? I don't know. Okay. He still hasn't answered the why. Why do we need this?
Okay, we only have a minute left. Do you read anything into one poll that has the Ontario Liberal Party ahead of Doug Ford's PC party? One poll. What do you think? Jordan? What do you think, Jordan?
One poll is kind of a
Very
blip.
quickly.
I mean, at this stage of three majority governments, I think it's natural that the government would start to come down a little bit, and I think you're starting to see some questions asked out there amongst the general public. So yeah, I think this could be a trend, but one poll is just a blip. We'll see.
Just a blip. Okay. What do you think? Very quickly, Neil. 30 seconds.
Well, there's no leader of the Ontario Liberal Party right now, and that nobody is outperforming Bonnie Crombie, Stephen Del Duca, and Kathleen Wynne, the last three leaders of the Liberal Party of Ontario. So my advice is the Liberal Party of Ontario shouldn't elect a leader and just go into the next election leaderless, and they might actually do okay.
Okay. All right. Good to hear from both of you. All the best. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks,
Always
Neil.
a pleasure, Rob. Always a pleasure.
Thank you. Neil Brodie, President, Vox Strategies, Vice President, Bluesky Strategy Group, Jordan Paquet. Talkback, just ahead on News Radio.
It's time to talk back.
On Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Call now.
And have your say.
1-833-668-2577.
Welcome to Talkback. It's 2 hours of debate and discussion on the big issues of the day. Today's topic, the skilled trades. The skilled trades. We want to know everything you know about the skilled trades. And the reason is this was the big announcement yesterday from the Carney Liberals in its spring economic update. Big money. Big money. Billions of dollars to train people to work in the skilled trades. It's being billed as a national strategy. It's $6 billion in funding over the next 5 years. That's still a lot of money. It's $1.2 billion a year. And the goal is to train 80 to 100,000 new workers and have them work in the skilled trades by the year 2030, 2031, 5 years from now, 5-year time horizon. $1.2 billion every year for the next 5 years, training between 16,000, 20,000 people a year, say. And it's targeted at people between the ages of 15 and 30 years old. The government claims there has never been a program like this ever in all of Canadian history to specifically train younger Canadians for jobs in the skilled trades. And we see stories in the news media all the time. Shortage of workers, shortage of skilled workers, shortage of skilled tradespeople. By the hundreds of thousands, we need to fill these jobs. So let me give you a few details about this program. There will be a grant, free money, doesn't have to be paid back, $400 a week, up to a maximum of $16,000 a year for the mandatory in-class technical training. It's an apprenticeship grant worth $16,000 a year. And if the worker's collecting EI, the worker can still collect EI and still qualify for the grant. There will be as well an employer wage subsidy. So if an employer hires a first-year apprentice, the government will pay that employer $10,000. This is what This is for what are called Red Seal trades. And the government says there are 56 of them, Red Seal trades. And if somebody eventually finishes their apprenticeship, obtains this Red Seal certification, that person qualifies for a $5,000 bonus, like a Red Seal bonus, $5,000. Okay. Government says it's going to cut the training times in half by using various digital tools, online exams, digital logbooks, a single national apprenticeship ID number. There's something called the labor mobility tax deduction. That is being expanded. It's going up to $10,000. That's for tradespeople who travel long distances for work. They will get a bigger tax break. And the government will spend $225 million over the next 5 years, $45 million a year, to build new union training and innovations programs. This is the brick and mortar side of it all. New training centers with state-of-the-art equipment. So that's the program. It's a big one. As I told our previous guests, there was a time, and it wasn't that long ago, when if the government announced a $6 billion program to do anything, that was it. That was the announcement. That's what we call in the communications business the announceable. So this is the announceable, big announcement, interesting announcement. We want to know what you think of it. We want to know if you think it's going to work. But more importantly, we want to know more about the skilled trades. Like I said, we want to know everything you know about the skilled trades. So let's get to some questions. 1-833-668-2577. 1-833-668-2577. The government says it wants to train 80 to 100,000 skilled tradespeople every year. Will they have jobs? Will there be jobs for those 80 to 100,000 people a year? What do you think? Will they have jobs to go to? It's great to do the training. Will they have jobs to go to? If you work in the skilled trades or know someone who does, what is it like to work in the skilled trades? What is it like to try and become qualified to work in the skilled trades? And do you think this program is an improvement? Do you think this announcement from the government will improve the situation with training a tradesperson? It better, or it's going to be a giant waste of time and money. If you were recommending a trade for that 15-year-old to 30-year-old to check out, investigate, what would you suggest? As I said, this is for Red Seal trades, 56 of them to choose from. All the, from everything from agricultural equipment technician to welder, iron worker, baker, boiler maker, painter, hairstylist, roofer, sheet metal worker, cook, crane operator. It's a long list, 56 of them in all. What would you recommend? What should people know about working in the skilled trades? What should they know about the money, about the hours, about the work-life balance that we hear so much about? Here's a question. Why is it that for every 100 people who sign up to learn a trade, only 34 ever finish? And do you think $5,000 will make a difference in the end? I think more people will stick with it if they get a $5,000 bonus check at the end. The government says it wants to build Canada strong. So it's going to need a lot of people who know how to build things. That's why it's launching this program. So what do you think about it? And tell us what you think it's like to work in the skilled trades, what people should know. Let's kick it around for a couple of hours. 1-833-668-2577. Your government certainly thinks it's worth doing. Do you think it's worth doing? 1-833-668-2577, our call-in line. If you've never called before, just mention that. We'll make your call a priority. I'm Rob Snow. This is Now You Know. This is Talkback on News Radio.
something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
The federal government will spend $6 billion over 5 years to train between 80 and 100,000 Canadians to work in the skilled trades. Grants for apprentices. Wage subsidies for employers. If a student finishes the apprenticeship, $5,000 bonus at the end. What do you think of this program? What is it like working in the skilled trades? What do you think people should know about working in the skilled trades? Share your thoughts and your experiences, please, here on Talkback today. 1-833-668-2577. Lou is up first in Calgary. Hello, Lou.
Hi.
Yeah, hi, Lou. Good to hear from you.
I've got two grandsons that came out of high school 2 years ago, and they both enrolled in the electrical program. Now, one of them has completed his first year work amount and schooling. The other one has done his work, but he's just gone to school for the next 6 weeks, I guess, or whatever it is. Would they qualify for this program?
Not sure. Can't tell you that. Don't know the answer.
Okay. And where would I find out? Like, is there what's the program actually called? If I search,
what is the program actually called? That's a good question. I don't have the official title here in front of me. Yeah, okay. But you would like to know more about the $400 a week, for example, right?
Yeah, because
you want to know. Sure.
You know, when they end up going to school, they get EI, but it's not anywhere close to what they're making when they're actually working.
Of course, yeah.
So, but I mean,
do you think it's a good idea? Do you think it's a good idea? It's called the Team Canada Strong program. It's called, if I could, Lou. Thank you, Curtis. Curtis says it's called the Team Canada Strong program.
Okay, good. Okay, that I will. I'll take a look at that. Yeah, I think it's a great program. If it's true that we need that many people in the trades, then it'll definitely make a difference. I think the annual benefit and the final benefit for graduating would definitely get people not only in the program but would spur them on to finish the program.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Lou. You've got us off to a good start. Yeah. Team Canada Strong program is what it's called. Jen is in Ottawa. Thanks for calling, Jen. Hi, Jen.
Hi, Rob. How are you?
Yeah, very good, Jen. Good to hear from you. What do you think?
Good. Yeah, the trades are a great way for the kids to go. I'm going to kind of give you both sides of the perspective. So I have a son who's in the program right now in Ontario. And I've also have been dealing with apprentices on the sponsorship side of it. So I think that program that they're talking about sounds great. The issue that we are having here in Ontario is that the schooling portion for the kids to get in is extremely backlogged. So, for instance, my son's been in the trade for 4 years now, electrical. He only completed his first level of school in October of last year because the schooling to get into those programs is so backlogged that it's 12 to 18 months wait to get into each level.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. So for a 4-year, you should be licensed, say, by 5 years once you get in. But it's taking 7, 8, 9 years to get it completed, to get your license.
Oh my gosh.
And then,
that's a long time.
Right. And then it is a long time. So then from a sponsorship perspective, so on the contractor side, which I've also worked, is that we are limited to the number of apprentices that we can take on, depending on how many master electricians you have on your staff.
Right. Yeah. There's a ratio, right? Yeah. There's a ratio. Yeah.
So I get tons of calls every week from co-op teachers, from students, from people wanting to get into the trades. Unfortunately, I can't take them because I don't have room for them. So we have a lot of people sitting on the sidelines trying to get in, but unless you can get a sponsor to take you, your hands are tied until you can actually find somebody to do that for you and to actually start the program.
Okay. I didn't read anything about it, the ratio being changed or loosened or relaxed or tightened up or anything like that. The big part on the employer side is the wage subsidies. It's going to be a wage subsidy. What do you think about that?
Yeah. So there is already a wage subsidy. So at every level that the apprentice goes through, the employer receives $1,000. In Ontario, every province is different. So every apprenticeship program runs differently in every province, so depending on the province you're in. But in Ontario, so each level that our apprentices go through, we get $1,000 per level, and I think at the last one, I think it's $2,000 once they write their license. So that program is already in place here. I think the focus, though, for this money, I agree with the training centers. I think it's a good idea, but I believe it should be open to union and non-union in order to be able to get as many apprentices through these programs as possible, because not every apprentice is going to end up with being with a union contractor. So, so if that door is closed, then a lot of those non-union apprentices that are just trying to even get in is not going to, be able to go to those training centers unless they're open to everybody.
Okay. Thank you so much. Very insightful. Very good information. Thank you. From the front lines of it there, folks. 1-833-668-2577. The skilled trades, our topic today. Your thoughts on this program? A big program, $6 billion. And if you have experience in the skilled trades, tell us what it's like. You like your job? This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
On the skilled trades and the big new announcement from the Carney government to get people employed in the skilled trades, gathering your thoughts, please. Navank up next in Calgary. Hello. Navank, am I saying that right?
Yep, that is perfect. Yeah. How are you, Rob, today?
Thank you. I'm very good. Thank you for calling. Your opinion, please.
Just want to give my 2 cents about this program. It's really amazing program. Like it's going to bring lots of kids into the trades. I'm a general contractor by profession, and we hire lots of trades, so I know lots of ins and outs.
Sure.
My opinion, it is like to keep them occupied, like all those kids that's learning the skills. There should be some kind of restriction where whoever is not Red Seal certified, they shouldn't be in the business. So that's what makes the room for the new proper trades that has the skills. I don't know.
So if somebody's in home building or doing something on a commercial development, you think it should only be people with Red Seal certification? Did I hear you right there?
Yeah, that's what my opinion. Like I have seen lots of disaster jobs that's been done by not professionals.
I bet you have stories to tell. I bet you do.
Yeah. So if that can be a little bit controlled, like by the authorities, or maybe some funding goes to awareness from the people, for the people.
Okay.
They know,
if
like
I
they
could
should
ask
be hiring
you,
it proper.
This idea, if the student finishes the apprenticeship, they'll get a $5,000 bonus at the end. What do you think of that idea?
It's a decent amount for anybody starting the career. So yeah, that's a good option, definitely. That will motivate them to finish what they have started. Like with most of the that age that is kind of focusing on, it's 18 to 30. At that age, there is lots of distractions and stuff. So if they start something, maybe they will finish, maybe they will not. So if there is some kind of motivation that like attracts them to finish the program that they have started.
Okay. If somebody, let me ask you one more question, and then we'll have to run.
Yeah.
What do you think would be the best trade to pursue right now for job security for somebody? What's hot? What's in demand right now?
Electricians, plumbers, those are the pretty good trades to start their career with.
Plumbers. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sheet metal
And
workers.
how long does that normally
well.
take to train somebody to be an electrician or a plumber in this country? How long does that take typically?
I think like the education is a different story, but the actual work, like apprenticeship or the proper hands-on experience, a good year is good enough, like 40 hours a week for a year.
Okay, 40 hours a week for a year. Very good. Thank you. Very informative. On the skilled trades, our topic of the day, the government wants to train 100,000 Canadians to work in the skilled trades, and it's willing to cut a $6 billion check to make it happen. We want your thoughts, please. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
The skilled trades is our topic today, with the government announcing yesterday it's willing to spend $6 billion over the next 5 years to try and train 100,000 Canadians to work in the skilled trades. Based on what you know about the program, there are grants for apprentices, $400 a week, up to $16,000 a year, wage subsidies for employees, $10,000 per year per apprentice, and if the student finishes the apprenticeship at the end of it, a $5,000 bonus. So what do you think about the program? And if you have experience working in the skilled trades, do you have any recommendations for a career to pursue? And what is your experience in the skilled trades? If you've had a career in the skilled trades, what do you like about it? What should people know about it before they think about it? 1-833-668-2577. Peter in Calgary up next on Talkback. Hello, Peter.
Hi, Rob.
Hi, Peter. Yeah, good to hear from you, Peter.
Yeah, there you go.
Peter.
So,
thank you.
I've a career mechanic. I have my light duty red seal and my heavy duty red seal. Started in 1977 and I retired in 2020. Never changed careers through the whole thing. So I got a pretty good idea what goes on.
Very good.
So I think for me, way back in 77, we have to go back into the education program like high school. And because a lot of people tell you that if you want to go to university, you have to start working on that in high school. Well, the same thing can be applied to the trades. So in other words, that if you think that you want to become a tradesperson, mechanic, plumber, welder, whatever, yada, 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 that the high schools, they used to have a program where you could go and work at a company if that's what you wanted to do, right, to get knowledge inside on that trade. So you had a better idea of what you're getting yourself into, and probably the failure rate was a little less because, like, not everybody is a mechanic, not everybody is a plumber, not everybody is, an electrician, right?
Yeah,
so,
electrician, boilermaker, whatever. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, whatever. But I really think that they should start in high school and start grooming these kids that if they want to become a tradesperson, start working towards that. In other words, find employers that they had a RAT program here, which does basically the same thing that gets you started. But I think they have to start earlier now. I don't believe it started in high school or in grade 12 when I went through, but they got to start earlier if they want people, because then it gives you a chance to go do different trades. I mean, you think you might be a good electrician, but you blow yourself up at a fuse panel, and not the way you want to go.
Yeah, you might sour on it pretty fast. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
look, I mean, you did it for decades. You were in the skilled trades for decades. What was it? You must have enjoyed it. You did it so long. What did you get out of it? Do you think?
So,
what did you like about it?
Right from the get-go when I was young, I took a lot of stuff apart, and my mom didn't like it. So, but
Right.
later on in life, as I become a teen, then the focus became a lot sharper, right? I had a real keen interest in cars, going fast, racing, all kinds of things. So that offshoot from being a mechanic sort of went into that field too. So nevertheless, the one drawback for mechanics is the price of tools. You pay a lot of money for tools, and you need a lot of them. Most shops will pay for the specialty tools, but your basic hand tools, and there's a lot of them, you pay through the nose. I mean, you get the Snap-on truck or the Mack truck, whatever, show up every day, and then, they'll be happy to put you on a payment plan. If you survive.
Sure. Okay. All right. Thank you. Good to hear from you. Start young, and get a foot in the door. Start checking things out. Peter, thank you for your call. Eric is in Halifax. Hello, Eric. Hi, Eric.
Hey, Rob. Yeah, I think it's a great idea. It should have been done a long, long time ago. I wish that offer was offered to me about 30 years ago, because the only trade I got is a skilled laborer. That's all I ever known. But if I had the opportunity to get a trade, I'd take it and run with it. First of all, get your education, get all the education you can get. And secondly, the way the world is today, you need some kind of a trade, because without a trade or any kind of experience in the workforce, you're SOL. And, I think it's a great thing the government is doing. Like I said, it should have been done a long time ago.
Right. Yeah. I mean, your experience, you don't have much experience in the skilled trades, you said.
No, I don't know.
But you wish you did. Yeah.
But like I said before, if the opportunity was there, I would have taken it and run with it, because, like I say, in this day and age, you need something, because without it, you're not going to get anything.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're throwing a lot of money at it. $6 billion, as I say, over 5 years. It's the financial commitment. I mean, this is not like having to borrow tens of thousands of dollars to go to school. The way it was, say when I was going to school, big student loans. I mean, here they're paying you to go to school. They'll pay you to go to school.
Well, that's good. Like I said, take it and run with it, because it's a great opportunity. You're not going to get another opportunity in this lifetime. And as far as the young people go, it's a great opportunity for them. They're given a gift. I mean, how often do you get a gift from the government?
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, that's a good point, Eric. I mean, a lot of people are paying $16,000 a year to go to school. Here's an opportunity for, young people. They're targeting 15 to 30-year-olds. The government would pay them $16,000 a year and pay their employer to take them on and give them a $5,000 bonus at the end of it. Let's talk about it here, folks. It's an interesting strategy. Does it make sense? Will it improve the training ground for people in the skilled trades? That's what we want to know today. 100,000 Canadians, they say they want over the next 5 years. They're talking, they want to train up 20,000 people a year. 1-833-668-2577. I think we have 5 lines available. Shocked to see that, quite honestly, for such a signature program from the new Liberal government. A centerpiece of building Canada strong. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
On the skilled trades, that's our topic of the day. Your experiences in the skilled trades, your reaction to what the government announced yesterday, massive new skilled trades program. $6 billion, looking to train 100,000 Canadians. Ben is in Calgary. Hello, Ben. Thanks for calling, Ben.
Hey, Rob. Thanks for taking my call. Hope you're having a good day. Big fan of the show.
I am. Thank you so much. Very kind. Everything's good here, Ben. What's your opinion on the news?
Yeah, I think it's great. I think it's good. At any time you have a chance to bring up tradespeople with an encouraging background or some incentive, then why not? I believe Mr. Carney said during his campaign that he wanted to get back to a country that was recognized for building big, strong things with no delay and with great pride. So I think it's maybe one of the few things he's achieved here or done right, in my opinion. But as far as trades, myself, been a journeyman plumber 13, 14 years now. And
all right.
At any time, I didn't per se struggle in school. There's kind of this stereotype, if you will, that, if you go to trade school, you didn't make it or this or that. And I think that's going to the wayside now because you see some of us that have, stayed stuck with it. Now making some pretty good money and able to provide for our families. So, I think encouraging it is a step in the right direction for Canada itself.
Yeah, I think you're bang on with that opinion. I think back to my own upbringing. University is the place to be. I'm not discounting the value of a university education, but it was sort of, well, if you go and learn a trade, it's because you couldn't go to university. I don't know where that came from, but it was certainly a stereotype that was out there. And, I look at the tradespeople, they seem to be doing pretty well. And they seem to have lots of work. I mean, are you busy?
Yeah.
You busy? Yeah.
Well, we're incredibly busy, and I can tell you that there's a lot of stuff on the horizon, not just for plumbing, but electricians with, AI advancements, and for plumbers, there's low efficient appliances that'll soon be kind of phased out by the federal government. So there's, the work never ends. It's an endless game when you're talking about expansion and developing, especially in a big place like Calgary. If I was from small town Alberta, but moved here to better my opportunity to get in the trade. So I think that's what you got to go for.
Let me ask you this: you're a plumber, a busy plumber. You're a busy plumber. Okay, what do you like about your job?
Sure.
Like, what makes being a plumber a good job?
Well, I have experience kind of all over now, but as a service plumber, we're doing something new generally every day, and it's always a pretty educating experience. So every day you're learning something, every day you're doing something new. You're getting a steady and a healthy paycheck. So, as far as any of that, if you get with a good company, you can get all the benefit packages you'd get in any other big business or office job. But I think I've had my struggling days before. The downside is it's hard on the body. It's a long, arduous trade. You have to focus and get through the schooling and get to a point where it becomes a little easier than it is hard. But again, if you've got the attitude where you like challenges, then it's a good place to go.
Very good. Thank you. Love the call. Thank you so much, Ben. Wayne in Cape Breton. Hello, Wayne.
How are you doing?
Yeah, very good, Wayne. Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
What's your opinion here, Wayne?
I've been a crane operator for a little over 50 years. I was 32 in Sydney, and I was only 19 when I got hired on the steel mill and operating them big tower cranes similar to the container cranes. And then I moved up into the mills on overhead cranes. And then after the steel mill closed, I was there for 32 years, and went to Halifax for 20 years building higher buildings with tower cranes. So I had licenses for all of them. But I'm retired 11 years, and I hate it.
You hate being retired?
I hate being retired.
Oh, really?
I miss the cranes, and I miss the people.
I see.
It was more of a social event than a working event. Of course, I missed the check too, but anyway, no, I missed the people. I thought it was a great career, and I would recommend crane operating to anybody.
Really? Yeah, I was looking up the various wages, for the various trades. One of the highest paying trades in Canada is a tower crane operator right now.
Yeah. Yep.
At around the average is $42 an hour. That's the average wage, $42 an hour. It's pretty good money. $42.
I mean, the hardest part of the job when I was in Halifax, I got come to Halifax after the steel mill closed, but the hardest part of the day was climbing up and climbing down, because you're up sitting in a heated cab and got your portable radio on, listening to the talk show, but no, I missed that job. It was a super job, but I would recommend it to anybody.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay.
Tower crane operator. Crane operator. One of the best paying trades in the country. Out of these 56, one of the best paid, as a matter of fact. If not the best. I don't think it's the best, but it's right up there. 1-833-668-2577. The trades. The trades. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
So it's called the Team Canada Strong program. That's the Carney government's answer to attract people to the skilled trades, careers in the skilled trades. I'd like to know what you think about it. Grants for apprentices, wage subsidies for employers. If a student finishes an apprenticeship, $5,000. Here you go. Congratulations. Here's your $5,000 apprenticeship bonus. What do you think of the program? And what's it like working in the skilled trades? What would be any advice that you would have to somebody who's thinking about it? Brian is in Cambridge, Ontario. Hello, Brian. Thanks for calling, Brian.
Hi, Rob.
Hi, Brian.
I feel like it's Prime Minister Carney's doing the right thing. This is something that's long overdue. I came up in high school in the mid-'80s, and I always felt like there was a real injustice done, that, you know, we would meet with guidance counselors and teachers, and they would tell us, you know, it's all about post-secondary school. You have to go to university. If you can't cut it at university, you can go to college, but that's pretty much your only options. You know, skilled trades or going into an apprenticeship, you don't want to do that. You're going to end up, you know, homeless and on the streets type of thing.
Yeah. That was the attitude, though. You're right. I mean, I think you and I are the same vintage. That was the attitude, and that was the advice. It was misguided, really, in the rearview mirror. Yeah.
Well, it was very elitist. And even I remember when I was in the 12th grade, you know, getting ready to start the 13th year, which they don't have anymore, of course, but that was going to be our OAC university year. You know, one of my friends decided to finish grade 12, and he was going to go become a plumber's apprentice. And we all sort of laughed at him behind his back, like, oh, boy, you know, great job for you. Well, by the time I finished 4 years of university and got a couple degrees, he was already a homeowner, and I ran into him a few years ago, and he's retired. So I'm in my mid-50s, so is he. He's retired. He's done. He's got a beautiful home, you know, got a cottage up north. I mean, he did very, very well for himself, and we were all sort of snickering at him at the time, saying, trades, you know, that's not really an option. But that was not because of who we were. It was because how we were taught. And there weren't guidance counselors saying, you know what, you can go into plumbing, you can go in and be an electrician, you can be a trim carpenter, you can do any one of these trades, and you're going to do very, very well for yourself, and those jobs are needed. So I'm glad that Prime Minister Carney is doing this now. I wish it would have been done back in my day.
Yeah, okay, I think you make great points. I disagree with absolutely nothing that you have said, sir. I relate to so much of that. 1-833-668-2577. I think we're going to have to stop here. Yeah, we're going to have to stop here. The latest breaking news will bring you up to date. Very busy day in the news business. And then we'll get right back on to your phone calls in hour number 2 of Talkback. It is a $6 billion 5-year program with the goal to train up to 100,000 Canadians to work in the skilled trades. Right now, if 100 people sign up to be apprentices, only 34 ever finish. They're trying to solve that problem by giving people a $5,000 check at the end, a bonus check if they finish. Employers are hesitant to hire first-year apprentices. They're trying to get around that by giving the employers a wage subsidy of $10,000 per apprentice. So there's lots to this announcement that we can pour over.
It's time to talk back.
On Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Call now
And have your say.
1-833-668-2577.
We're talking about the skilled trades. Welcome to hour number 2 of Talkback. You think about all the things the government says it wants to do. It wants to build homes at a pace never before seen. It wants to build up the Canadian defense industry and the aerospace industry. It says it wants to develop our natural resources. Maybe that means pipelines. Certainly means mining projects, maybe big electricity projects. We could have Canadians working on new fighter jets maybe someday in the future, working on new submarines. That's in the news today. Drones, nuclear power stations like SMRs in Ontario, small modular reactors. They're still pushing this high-speed rail project. I mean, point being, we're going to need a lot of people, well-trained, very specific skills to do everything that the government says it wants to do. So this is the plan that they've come up with to do that. The government is going to pay people to go to school and learn these trades, these 56 Red Seal trades. They'll throw the employer some money, 10 grand in a wage subsidy, because apparently employers aren't keen on bringing on first-year apprentices. They want more experienced people. So this is an attempt to address that issue. It's going to spend big money on new training centers alongside the unions, $225 million. That's the brick and mortar side of it. To build and equip training centers. And if someone finishes the training, in the end, they'll qualify for this Red Seal certification. Congratulations, here's $5,000. That's the plan. That's the plan. What do you think of the plan? And what's life like in the trades? Sam is in Calgary and up first in hour number 2. Thanks for waiting, Sam. Hi there.
Hello, how are you?
Very good, Sam. How are you?
Awesome.
That's good.
Yeah, so when it comes to this topic, I definitely agree it's a good idea to entice, especially apprentices, to become journeymen. I've, been an electrician, Red Seal electrician for like 20 years now, and the amount of apprentices that I've worked with, that have been in their trade for like 6-7 years without becoming journeymen is just astronomical. Either they don't want to go back to school because they don't want to lose out on the current wage, right?
Right.
Or they just don't really even think about it, because they have a job, But there is something that I would like to point out, though, if you want to get into a trade.
Yep.
Is that to be in a trade, you have to be a specific type of person, somebody who is okay with doing hard labor, right? Especially the first 2 years of your apprenticeship, you're going to be doing hard labor, right? You're going to be carrying, heavy equipment, carrying heavy material, it's not going to be a cakewalk, right?
Okay.
So, like, if you're afraid to get your hands dirty, right, and do hard labor, you should not be in the trades, right?
Right.
This is why, I think, in school they encourage people to go to university, because, if you go that route, maybe you won't have to have, calloused hands and get dirty,
Yeah.
But being in the trades, 90% of the trades out there require you to do manual labor, and you can't be scared of it.
Okay. Hard on the body. All right, Sam, thank you. Going to let you go. Bit of a road noise there. I believe Jeremy. Do we have Jeremy on the line? No, not Jeremy. Okay. Al. Yeah, sorry about that, Curtis. Al in Calgary is up next. Hi, Al.
Hey, thanks for taking my call, Rob. Love your show.
Thank you so much. Very kind of you. What's your opinion?
I know you and I have had differences over the years because I tend to stray off the beaten path.
Okay.
First of all, you have to define what a trade person is, and I'm sure there'll be committees and there'll be civil servants, and there's going to be all sorts of consultants that are going to define what a trade is. To me, a trade is a dishwasher, a waiter is no different than a plumber or electrician or a refrigeration mechanic.
I don't know if I'd agree with that. I don't know if I'd agree with that. And they've, for this program anyway, it's for 56 trades, Red Seal trades, 56 of them.
Okay, so let's talk about the trades. I raised 5 kids here in Calgary. I have the pleasure of having 8 grandkids. After 46 years in business, import-export, I'm still working 7 to 7 days a week. I'm on call. If something goes wrong with the equipment that I sell, people call me at home. That's not going to happen with somebody that's got a red seal, whatever. Every time a C-store changes a coffee supplier, for example, the equipment has to be taken out and replaced courtesy of the coffee supplier or whoever sells them the slush product to make the Slurpees or whatever you want to call them. I got a phone call right after the NDP got elected here in Alberta, letting me know that what I was doing was illegal. I don't have, being factory trained, I don't have a degree or a diploma in small appliance repair certificate. It's a 3-year course here at SAIT in Calgary or NAIT up in Edmonton. And after I hire these people, I have to pay them $28 an hour. After 46 years, I still don't know how much money I'm making per hour running a small business. I don't need somebody, some bureaucrat telling me what I have to pay somebody to teach them how to hold a screwdriver or how to use a drill. And that's where this is going. This whole program, where the heck are they going to get that kind of money? By taxing small businesses like us. If I refuse, if I'm in the middle of doing some repairs at my shop that I've operated successfully since 1979, if I deny these people access to my shop, it's a $10,000 fine. So to get around this stupidity, out of my 5 kids, the one kid that's making a heck of a lot of money, like over $500,000 clear a year, is a licensed electrician. I am working for him as an apprentice. I'm 68 years old, and if they show up at my shop or if they see me doing some repair at a restaurant or a hotel or something, and I don't have that small repair certificate, it's a $10,000 fine. And then they've taken it one step further. If I need to buy a part, be it electrical, be it refrigeration, be it plumbing, I've had wholesalers deny me that part, which by the way, I can buy on Amazon for half the price.
Right. Okay. All right. So you have some issues with it. And it sounds like you have, many more issues with the way things are operating right now. I appreciate your phone call, sir. Have to move along. This is hour number 2. Our focus again, the skilled trades, this new program from the Carney government that's been announced. Your thoughts on that, your experience in the trades. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
On the skilled trades, Joe in Kitchener's up next. Hi, Joe. You're on Talkback.
Hey, Rob. This one is particularly near and dear to my heart. I'm retired now because I just sold my business, and I've been a skilled tradesman since I got out of high school back in the early 80s. And the message I have for everybody is whatever your preconception is of the skilled trades, that is not a path to success. Let me tell you something. I have multiple friends that own businesses that started off as skilled tradesmen and went out on their own with their own entrepreneurial spirit, and they're all multimillionaires. I can't say the same for all of the people I know that graduated from university with whatever degree they were told. All I can tell you is that I know and I am very successful skilled tradesman. I started at working for Magna International. Then I went to work for the family business and got another trade. Then I got my C-Tech. And for all those people that think, oh, you need a engineering degree to engineer anything, that's wrong. You can be a C-Tech and work under an engineer and design all kinds of stuff that they'll put their stamp on and say, good job on me. You know what I mean? But I couldn't make it in university because I had the attention span of a common housefly. So it is what it is. But I digress.
Yeah.
Rob, the problem is, and one of your earlier callers alluded to this, it's the grassroots message. It starts at the high schools. It starts at the grade school level. The message is, if you don't get a university degree, you're a zero. That couldn't be farther from the truth.
Yeah.
The problem is we need to change the message to all these kids that are going through grade school, high school, making career decisions on the fly that they don't know what the hell they're like. They have no basis of comparison. They're just floating in the wind. We need to change the messaging and say, hey, skilled trades is a viable career. And, you know, you've heard a number of cases on your show already of these guys that have friends that, oh, yeah, we laughed at him because he was a plumbing apprentice. Well, yeah, now he's got his own home. He's got his own cottage. Yeah, I can tell you a similar story. But the problem is, you know, if we don't get out there and tell kids this is a viable option, then that is where we fail. So,
very good message. Very good message, Joe. Yep. Agree with you. And I think we've heard that and documented that today with your help. Thank you, Joe. Dewey in Calgary up next on Talkback. Hi, Dewey.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, very good, Dewey. Thank you. Yeah, your opinion, please.
I'm a journeyman welder, iron worker. I've been a shop foreman for probably 7 different companies. I taught night school at James Fowler and Forest Lawn High School in Calgary. And I agree, every kid should get the rights to get in to get a trade, but also got to be warned that trades are work. It's not a Sunday afternoon when you get there. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I mean, like I say, I actually had the government call me back about 20 years ago and ask if they should have an apprenticeship program anymore. And I said, well, no, you really don't need. Yeah. And I said, you really don't need one. I said, when we get down to that last plumber and he's working 2 hours a week, making $1 million, then maybe you might want to train some more. You know what I mean?
Dewey. Yeah. I see. Yeah. I wonder, Dewey, the government says the way things are right now, let me run this by you. For every 100 people that start an apprenticeship program, only 34 ever finish. Do you think, because a number of people have called and said it's hard work. Do you think maybe hard work is turning people off from the trades? Don't want to work that hard, or it's too physically demanding maybe, or?
It's physical, any part of it, and some of it's hazard. Welding is probably the worst one on your health. But the work is demanding. You're going to have to do some. It's a lot of labor when you start out, and the longer you're in the trade, it's the less labor and more brain. You know, so you're an apprentice, then you become a journeyman, and with any luck at all, after another 5 or 10 years, you might become a tradesman, which is a different thing from a journeyman. I mean, you know what I mean?
Okay. Look, Dewey, thank you. Yeah, for your call. I really appreciate the call today. We do have to stop here, however. I'm Rob Snow. We're talking about the skilled trades today here on Talkback. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
And one of the things we're really interested in knowing more about is this $5,000 bonus that the government is planning through its new skilled trades program. The government says that for the last year it has data, which is 2024, there were 100,000 apprentices roughly in training programs across the country. 34,000 people actually made it to the end and qualified for that Red Seal certification, 34% completion rate. I wonder if the $5,000 bonus at the end will work. Would it improve these numbers? Will it make more people want to stick with the trades if they can get $5,000 at the end of it? Robert is in Calgary. He's up next on Talkback. Thanks for calling, Robert.
Thank you. And I love your show and really appreciate all you do, Rob. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Very kind of you.
Yeah, what I would say, and I've owned trade companies, and I'm a journeyman trade certificate, and my family's on trades. I also have a PhD, and I think what I would say is really unique here is that what we're in the trade business. A lot of people, they join the trades because they need a job and they want to work hard and they want to make some money. Well, the reality though, modern trades requires all that. They require people that want to work hard, that have the right physical skills and so forth. But trades today also require a tremendous amount of acumen. There's a lot of technology. There's tremendous amount of math required. I mean, if you're doing certain carpentry skills, if your math is not perfect, well, that house is going to be off level, and so you got to want to work hard, but you've also got to have those good math skills. Well, you're going to have good customer relationship skills. You're going to have to be able to be customer service, because that homeowner that you're going into their house or you're working with wants somebody that is clean and respectable, but also pleasant and polite and well-groomed. And so, and then with new technologies, with computers and other forms of technology, you've got to, all trades have that. So I think a lot of the reasons why people don't complete, and I've seen in my experience why they don't make it past the 34%, isn't because they don't want to, but because they don't have, there's a couple of those skills that I just mentioned that they miss. And that's life.
Okay.
Trades have become very technical and it's very specialized now.
That's very interesting. I would like to know, what do you think, as someone with a lot of experience, it sounds like decades of experience in this field, what do you think about the program that the government has developed here? Do you think it'll make a difference?
I don't think the way I don't think it's a program. They should have a program. I don't think this one's the one, because I think this is more or less a gift of 5,000. What you need to do is we need to get programs that actually help people learn those different particular pieces of the skills. And so I think you almost need a bigger funnel, because I think 34% is all you're going to get. Maybe it's 40%, but I think if you're going to need a bigger funnel, because you got to get the people that still have those skills, like the good math skills, they're smart, and so forth. But just one quick comment. My brother owns a trade business, and he's a flooring company. He's on Vancouver Island. And he asked me a little while ago, what do you think these guys make? And it turns out these good floor lawyers make about $200,000 a year. And I said, so David, these guys must be quitting. You must have people quitting university to come and work with you. And he goes, Robert, no, because it's such hard work that people, even though they're really smart, they start and they just don't do it. So you got to have all those pieces. And I think that's the issue. You're asking a lot of a tradesperson today.
Fascinating. Thank you. Robert in Calgary. The latest breaking news is coming up next. It's the day after the spring economic update. It's also Wednesday. That's when the Prime Minister usually shows up for question period. He's going at it right now with Poilievre. It's pretty fiery in the House. You can hear some of that too.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Yeah, we're talking about the skilled trades today. Major announcement from the federal government yesterday as part of its spring economic update. It's a $6 billion program, a new national strategy. $6 billion over 5 years to train between 80 and 100,000 Canadians to work in the skilled trades. We've outlined some of the details of the program. Grants worth up to $16,000 a year for apprentices. Wage subsidies for employers. $5,000 bonus at the end if the apprenticeship is finished. What do you think of that program? What's it like working in the skilled trades? What do people need to know if they are thinking about pursuing a career in that field? 1-833-668-2577 as we go to Greg in Kitchener today. Hello, Greg.
How you doing, Rob?
Yeah, very good, Greg. Thank you.
Good. The incentive program is long overdue, I think. Back in the early 80s, I took advantage of an incentive program at that time where it used to be called Manpower Retraining, and they bought me my tools and they subsidized my wages for my employer, which helped me get an apprenticeship. So the subsidy for the employer is the biggest thing, I think, because employers don't want to hire apprentices because they don't want to pay two guys to do one job. So incentives for the employer I think is optimum. And so I started working in factories as an apprentice, and then I moved to, that was in the Trenton area. I moved to Kitchener, and I went into healthcare as a millwright. And lots of stuff to fix in a hospital. And
I see.
while I was there,
fixing things in a hospital. That's interesting.
Absolutely. They hired millwrights to do HVAC, fix beds,
yes.
fix anything mechanical, all the kitchen equipment. Like there's no end of things to fix in a hospital. And we had a full complement of trades. And I learned another trade while working at the hospital. So I started as a millwright, and I learned refrigeration air conditioning while I was there. And I challenged the Red Seal exam and passed. And so I was a dual trade. And then that helped me go into management. And I finished my career as a facilities manager, running all the maintenance for 2 hospitals in Kitchener. And it was a very rewarding career, and I'm quite enjoying my defined benefit pension.
I bet you are. Okay. Don't rub it in. Now, I want to ask you, what do you think? I mean, this is targeted for younger people, it says. They're going after 15 to 30-year-olds.
Yeah.
Not old fogies like me, but the 15 to 30-year-old who maybe still doesn't know what they want to do. It's not unusual now. People are in their late 20s and they're still directionless. There's so many choices. They don't know what they want to do with their life. What should they think about? What should they know before they pursue a career like this?
Right. So young people, like I've heard many people say, they don't really want to do physical labor. But if you go into a trade, it's going to be physical labor, and they should introduce these in the high school years while the kids are in shop. And like the European way was, once you finished high school, you came up with a trade, tinsmith or electrician, because the high school was actually part of their apprenticeship or training. So I think they should bring more of that into the school, into the shop, to get the people into the trades, which means changing the education system, which I'm sure is very difficult to do. But it is hard work, and and the trades aren't easy work. No. And the tradesmen pick on the young guys, and you have to have some kind of thick skin to start. But it is a great profession. And
thank you, Greg. Yeah. It sounds like you've done well, and good advice there. To Bill in Calgary, first time caller. Bill, thanks for calling.
Yeah, hi Rob. I've been a tradesman my whole life, and I think a lot of the guys are missing one of the key things. It's not that it's hard work, it's the conditions that the guys are in. Like most tradesmen are contractors, and your last caller, sure, he worked in the hospital. Well, that's great if you can get a government job, or the other caller that was a teacher, but that's 1% of the tradesmen in Alberta. The other 99 are working feast and famine jobs. Some years they make $200,000 a year, some years they make 30. So either you're working up north in the camp and you have no home life, or you come back home and you're trying to find work. And I advise people not to go in the trades. I think, get a government job, work for the city, go be a prison guard, go do something like that. You get that long-term pension. Like I'm 50 now, and I did land a job with the oil company, but again, that's rare. So I think, I tell my kids not to. Long-term, get something that's going to be solid and get you that pension.
It sounds to me you're very much the minority opinion today.
Yeah,
you realize that, right? Like you're kind of an outlier, actually. You're the outlier today. You're the unicorn. Congratulations. But you don't see, because this is one of the things I was wondering, like, what do people want in life, especially when it comes to their profession? They want a certain amount of security, right? They don't want to live hand to mouth. They don't want to wake up every day, wondering, hey, am I going to have a job to go to today? Is today the day I, get walked down the hallway and told, sorry, we don't need you anymore. So they want job security, especially now with AI being all over the news, and it's going to take all of these jobs. It's very unsettling for a lot of people, the lack of job security in so many professions. But you're saying And I don't want to misinterpret you. You're saying there's not much job security in the trades?
I don't think so. And journeyman, the term journeyman comes from the French journeyman, meaning day man. So you use them for the day and they're gone. And you think about, you get a contractor, your plumber or whatever to come to your house. You want them there as little as possible. Get in, fix it, and go home. And that's most of it. So, and there's I've had my own business. I've had 100 employees and doing good. Then there's a downturn like 2007, 2015, and there's no work. And the oil companies, they have no loyalty. You got to lay off all your staff. And most guys are contractors, even if they're working on a big project. Once the project's done, they want you pack up your tools and go home. So that's what I think it is. So I don't think more money at the front end is going to help. I think a little bit work-life balance. One idea I've had is maybe they have to pay double time after 50 hours a week. So you're not working guys 20, 30 days straight up north. Then the oil companies incentivize to send them back home so they get some home life and hire some new people. Something like that.
Okay. Interesting. Really interesting. Thank you. Love the minority view. You got that from Bill. We'll be right back. The trades, everyone. That's our topic on Talkback. 4 or 5 lines available there. Wait won't be too long at all. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Up next, as we continue our conversation on Talkback today about the skilled trades, is Grant is in Calgary. Hello, Grant.
Hello.
Yeah. Hi, Grant.
Hello.
What's your opinion?
Well, I'm a heavy equipment technician, and I would recommend a trade to anybody. I got my ticket in 06, and it's good work. It's good money. I used to work in the oil patch. That's where I got my ticket. But, it pays good. There's a good variety, and you make a good living.
Okay. Did you hear the comments from the last caller, sir? There's not as much job security in it as say some other professions. What would you say to something like that? Would you say that's accurate?
I don't really agree or disagree. I mean, it depends who you work for. I know I wouldn't want to work for one of these construction companies, working on scrapers and stuff like that. But, if that's what you like, that's what you like. There's lots of work up in Fort McMurray. I know a few guys that have worked up there.
Sure.
It's 2 weeks, 2 weeks in, 2 weeks out. Your accommodation and meals are paid for. It's a little harder than home life if you're married and stuff like that, but it's good money, and you can't knock it.
Yeah, I've known lots of people. I've had people in my own family who have done that. What do you think people should know about working in the skilled trades? I mean, as I say, this is targeted more toward the teens and the 20-somethings. What should they know?
Well,
what would be your advice?
It depends on heavy equipment technician can be hard sometimes not. The electrical end of it could be hard to figure out. It could take you hours to figure it out, minutes to fix. The mechanical problem you can diagnose in minutes and takes hours to fix. But different trades have different ups and downs. A friend of mine there a few years back asked me what I thought he should take. He said the plumber and electrician. I said the electrician's got a lot of math. A plumber, not so much. He went for plumbing, and he's doing good to this day. I know another guy at work. His son just got on with another company. He was what do you call that? It's a higher end electrician, but he's got a good job now. Company car, just goes around, does inspections. He's not doing wiring and stuff like that. He's doing really good.
Right.
And it
very good.
depends. I mean, there's so many different trades. I even tried tin bashing for a while, but that wasn't my thing. And I used to like working on my own vehicle and stuff like that, and the equipment I was working on, or driving and operating, and help fix it when it broke down. So it's good all around.
Okay. Good all around. Okay, thank you. Yeah, good to hear from you, Grant. Thanks for calling. To Michelle up next. Hi, Michelle.
Hi.
Hi, Michelle.
Hi.
Good to hear from you.
I'm a first-time caller.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. That's the best kind of caller.
I'm also calling from Calgary. There's been quite a few of us calling from Calgary. I agree with all the things that the other callers have said about the instability and income in the trades. I work in the trades. I install kitchen cabinets in multi-residential new buildings.
Okay.
And I think a good idea would be for first-year trades people to take all the trades, have exposure to all of them. Take a little bit of electrician, take a little bit of plumbing, take a little bit of carpentry, so that they know a little bit about everything, because you do need to know some things.
Sure. Try to become or explore like a jack of all trades, or in your case, a Jill of all trades.
Well, then after the first year, then they can choose a specialty, right?
Yeah, and then specialize later. Sure. Yeah.
Because you do need to know. I mean, I can't even tell you how many times you go to put in kitchen cabinets and the plumbing is in the wrong spot. The electrical's in the wrong spot. They didn't account for the height of the backsplash. They didn't account for this. They didn't account for that. And it's because they've never had exposure to carpentry or kitchen installations, or they don't know what they don't know.
Right. Sure.
And there's still this confusion about whether you're self-employed or an employee. These companies want you to be self-employed. They want you to be a subcontractor, but you're not. They tell you where to go. They tell you what time you can come to work. They tell you what time you go home. They tell you what you're going to be doing all day. They have complete control over you, yet you're a subcontractor. And there doesn't seem to be anything you can do about it.
So you think that should change?
Yeah, it has to be.
Do you think your fellow tradespeople want that to change, or do they want to be? Because there would be a certain amount of independence that would come with that, right?
But there isn't independence.
Okay.
There isn't. You can't just leave at the middle of the day. If you're truly a subcontractor, you should be able to come and go as you wish, and you can't. You can't. And recently, on sites, there's been a real language barrier issue. That it would be helpful if there was some kind of solution to that. But that's a little bit off.
Well, that'd be a language training. Language training would be the solution there, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Yeah, we've got to go. Be right back, though, with probably one or two more calls here on Talkback on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Kelly in Calgary up next on Talkback, weighing in on the skilled trades. Thank you. Kelly, what's your opinion?
Hey, Rob, long-time listener, first-time caller.
Appreciate that, Kelly. Thank you for calling today.
I want to heavily promote the trades. I got into the trades when I was 19 years old. Got 2 journeyman tickets by the time I was 23 years old. Worked my way up into other positions, into foreman, general foreman, superintendent, construction manager, project manager. So it really opened up for me. Been running my own independent contracting company for the last 21 years. Was able to buy a house when I was younger in Calgary and able to sell that and keep moving up. Bought an acreage just southwest of Calgary. So my wife and I live out there with our horses. Been working up in the oil sands for the past 16 years. So it's not for everybody, that kind of lifestyle. I do week on, week off, but working half the year gives you that flexibility to do things when you want. So can't say enough. Got an older brother that's in the trades as an electrician as well. And he provides well for his family. So with this last couple of years, I was able to get on with another oil and gas company and work downtown Calgary, work from home when I want to as well, too. So there's the flexibility there. You're not always out in the boonies, out in the middle of nowhere. So, I said, it's not for everybody, but there's lots of good opportunities, and I can't say enough good things about it and what it's done for me and my wife and our lifestyle. So.
Very good, Kelly. Thank you. Good to hear from you for the first time. Hope it's not the last time. Let's go to Cambridge, Ontario. Doug is up next. Hi, Doug.
Hey, how you doing, Rob?
Good, Doug. Yep, good. Yep. A little tight on time here, Doug, so let's get right to it.
Okay, quick. I'm a tradesman since 1989. I've made a great living all my life, supported 2 kids, a wife, a house, a mortgage, the whole bit. Job security-wise, I would have a job in 20 minutes. I'm a truck and coach mechanic, and I've always had a job.
Okay. So what would be your advice to someone who's thinking about a career like the career you had? What should they know? Give me 1 or 2 things.
They have to research and target the trade. So my trade is there's very few people doing it anymore because they don't want to work. So they want the easy computer job, where mine is more of a hands-on job, and you basically target the shortage of people. It's like any career you choose, you research the market.
Gotcha. Yeah, very well done. Thank you. I'm sorry we couldn't get to everyone. That proved to be a very popular topic. We'll see what comes of it, and whether $6 billion will get us 100,000 new tradespeople. I guess we'll have to check back in 5 years, but that's the plan. Brand new topic for you tomorrow. And until then, always the latest breaking news right here on News Radio.